Today we are in for a special treat. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have the pleasure of interviewing my friend Paula Naif. Now, Paula resides in Switzerland. She's an exceptional leadership and performance coach, but she's also a speaker, facilitator, and author in the making. I love that. We got to talk about that today because I want to hear about this author in the making. She serves as owner of This Is Me, Paula Naif Coaching. And who does she work with? Well, she serves leaders one-on-one through one-on-one settings, but she also serves organizations as well through workshops, group programs, and keynote speaking. We're in a very similar path in our careers, and that's another exciting thing to talk about, Paula, today as well with you. But thank you so much for being on our show today, my friend.
Well, thank you so much, Tara. I really love being here, and it's amazing to hear the introduction and all the words when I sing, "Oh, that's me."
Makes you feel like a star, right? That's how it should be.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your success. I met you, of course, I met you on LinkedIn. I don't know, was that just a few months ago or a year ago? I can't even remember. Maybe it
It,
was was it spring or it was
it was
before?
before, it was in spring sometime.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And I loved your energy immediately. I could tell that you're an authentic person right off the bat. So when I find authentic people, I just tend to hold on to them, right? But
Mhm.
so happy to have you on the show today. Today is an interesting topic,
Mhm.
and it's not one I've addressed. This is the first time I have ever addressed the topic of shame.
Mhm.
Ooh. Guess what? Everybody has it, right? And it's that little word that nobody likes to leave their lips, right? Nobody wants to admit that they have shame. But Paula, doesn't everyone have shame to a certain extent? What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. It could be that some people do not call it shame. It could be, but we all have something that we would like to hide, that we don't want to put out in the public because there's something that's we're afraid of, that if that thing, whatever it is, comes out in the public, that, oh, it's gonna, I don't know, bring bad luck, or people are gonna just run away, or whatever. We have these fears, and that's what shame is, right?
Hmm. Where gosh, it's like so everybody has it, but where does it come from? Where do you think? I mean, obviously it sounds like it could be from external happenings, right? That occurrences that happen to us in our lives, trauma, maybe
Yeah.
abuse. But there's so much that could go into that, right? I mean, it could be how you could be ashamed of the way you grew up or ashamed of your weight, the way you
Yeah.
look. There's a lot that goes into that. And I think people
Mhm.
really hold on to this energy of shame, and it can create some downward spiral thinking for us, right? But where
Mhm.
where do you, in your experience as a coach and as a human being, let's face it, think that where the shame really comes from, and how does it manifest in our lives?
I think it's something really, really deep. I mean, I can only relate that to my life because look, I'm not a researcher, and it is not, I haven't done, yeah, I'm not a psychologist, but I have done a lot of work with myself and with my clients. So what has revealed to me from my life is the shame coming from very, very early childhood, where we make these connections. And for me, that's where it has come from, and it's so deep rooted inside. And that's why we probably don't even talk about it too much, because we feel like that's a part of us. It's something that's just there, and it's accepted, and it's, yeah. So I feel ashamed. You don't say anything. You feel ashamed, and that's what it is. It doesn't, you don't say anything. You can talk about fears, you can talk about a lot of things, but those things that you really are deep down is ashamed of, like for me, for example, ashamed of what I look like. And even though I don't remember anyone ever telling me straight in the face, like, you don't look right, or you are too much this or too little, whatever, I have always remembered being ashamed of myself. And by comparison to others, and maybe it has been subtle something, I haven't pinpointed everything, but I know that that's where it's coming from. And once I know where it's coming from, I can start to reprogram myself and talk about it. I think that's why I've now done a couple of posts where I really had to like think myself, yes, I feel shame. And so my first reaction is like, no, don't say anything. Like, this is too personal. This is too, don't go there. People are going to run away. All these fears, like I said before, are going to come. However, I've been able to step out of that for a couple of times and also open, not only on LinkedIn, not only online. I've been open about, I'm open about everything that I'm ashamed of, that I know is holding me back with my clients. And when I am open with my clients, they feel like this barrier is coming down a bit. And we're
Yes.
not talking about the deepest, darkest secrets. You can keep the secrets. It's okay. But, the things that really are holding you back.
Yes, I love that. Well, you hit on something very powerful. This shame holds us back, and it creates this cycle of self-fulfilling prophecy,
Hmm.
right? So, a cycle of self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm ashamed of XYZ. So I'm not going to put myself out there, right? I'm not going to be seen or heard. I'm going to stay in the shadows because I don't want that judgment. I don't want that fear, that rejection, right? So
Hmm.
what happens? We internalize it and become more shameful. And then it creates this cycle, right? Don't you think it kind of compounds on itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it's like this nagging little thing that you always know is there. And it's, for me, I always think it's like somewhere here behind in my neck or something, which is probably why I have like sometimes a lot of neck pain, is I think it's always here. And that it's somehow just like a little pin that's always poking, and if I don't do anything about it, it's just going to keep on being there. And even if on all the other areas of my life I'm brilliantly confident and showing up and talking and open and vulnerable, however, that little thing here is going to keep pushing, and it's going to keep on, that little needle's going to keep on poking, and I'm going to feel it. I know it's there. It's not going anywhere. And so that's a little bit, for me, that's how it kind of manifests in my life, all these things. I still have things that I'm ashamed of. I haven't opened up about everything. And yeah, I mean, I'm the same.
Yep. And so many people relate to that. So, and it doesn't matter what you look like, by the way. I think a lot of, we've heard of a lot of celebrities even coming out, and to me they look gorgeous, right? They look so beautiful. And then they talk about their issues with body dysmorphia,
Mhm.
right? Their issues with eating disorders and things like that. And it makes you wonder, why are we all so ashamed? And
Mhm.
then I think, because I'm a confidence minded person, how much is this shame holding us back in our lives, in our careers, with the amount of opportunities that we're able to make, the amount of money we're able to make,
Mm.
the amount of success we're able to make because we're ashamed? And I see this a lot with personal branding and clients I work with, that we have a huge confidence hurdle to get over before a lot of people even start posting content, appearing on in the press or social media posts even, that there's some shame there that we need to kind of figure out and talk about and address, because for whatever reason they don't want to put themselves out there. And again, that's where it creates that kind of that cycle of
Hmm.
compounding that shame, which compounds our lack of confidence, and again that keeps us from really growing as a person, right? What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It does. It's holding you back. So it's I feel like sometimes it has now it for me it has released a little bit, but it's like you have this band on your waist and you're trying to run the 100 meters or whatever, like some race, and but you have that band, so it has a huge resistance that's pulling you back. Like you're going there and you've got all the confidence going forward, you know where you're going, you know this is what I need to do, and then there's that something that's still not allowing you to go full speed,
Hmm.
and maybe even you won't, if it's hard enough, you won't even get to the goal. It will prevent you from getting there because if it's pulling you hard enough, it's going to pull you back. It's going to slow you down. And that's how I feel like I'm a very image person. So I make images in my mind about how things look like. So this is an image that I have in mind for shame,
Hmm.
and it's a very strong pull.
It's resistance. I like that word.
Mhm.
And how much are we resisting? I think about that all the time. What are these elements in our lives that are creating this resistance? And it feels like, so you think of a pullback, I feel like it's sludge. Or like, what's that called? Quicksand, right? I
Ah,
think
yeah.
yeah, something you step into and it's gradual enough where you don't get scared at first.
Mhm.
But then you just keep slipping and slipping and you realize it's kind of constricting all around you.
Yeah, well,
That's
that's
the
also a
visual.
good image. Yeah.
Yeah, I think of quicksand. I don't know. But it's that resistance that keeps us down, and then eventually it kind of surrounds us and engulfs us, and then you struggle to even just breathe air.
Hmm.
And
Exactly.
and it can actually, like you're saying, you can feel it. And it's like a neck pain. I could always feel it like in my chest. Sometimes
Hmm.
hard to breathe, expand your breath, right? And
Hmm.
it's interesting. It's like that resistance does kind of show up physically for us sometimes too.
Yeah.
It's interesting. But the
What
shame,
I think about that is that we
mm,
are actually we're putting so much more energy into the game than we actually have to, and that's what's exhausting us because it's that resistance or it's that quicksand where you're working, working, working. However, it's you can put all your energy in it, and you're not gonna dig yourself out. It's actually gonna make you go a little bit further down, or it's gonna make it even harder to get up.
yeah, absolutely. It's interesting, right? So you need that pull out of that situation. And that's where a coach comes in, right? A coach is somebody who can
Mhm.
kind of, they see that. They see what's getting in your own way. Cuz a lot of times um we don't see what's getting in our own way. There's things, even though I'm a coach, I'm sure that are impeding my progress and getting in my way, and I'm getting in my own way, right? A lot of times. It's called human nature. That's why it's good to have a coach, somebody that can help strategically guide you and pinpoint those things so that
Mhm.
you can kind of break free of these cycles and patterns that we get stuck in that are holding us back and keeping us ultimately the same.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
really important, right? In order for you to grow, you can't have something pulling you back or letting you sink into it. You've got to break free from it. And that's kind of what a
Mhm.
coach does. What do you think about that, Paula?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a funny, this kind of conversation I've had this week at least twice, where it's about that the power of a coach, which is someone who's looking at things from the outside. It's like I also work with a coach, and it's funny how things just I am in my own world so much, we all are. We can't see it from the outside. No matter how much reflection and objective looking and watching, whatever we do, we can't. We have to have that other pair of eyes who's like, all right, well, this is what I observe. And they're like, oh, wow, yeah, this is the same I extend to my clients as well. And whether it's in a group setting, in a group setting, you're not going to be as vulnerable as you are when it's a one on one, but still, there are opportunities there as well. And it's just this simple pair of eyes from the outside that will help you dig deeper than the original issue. Like you come to a coach and you set goals. This is what happens with me. We set goals. Okay, we work together for this and this amount of time. These are the goals that the client sees would be something they go for, but that's the surface. It's not really those goals. It's then we start the work to uncover that. And that's where this comes into play, is that someone seeing from the outside being able to point into that direction of accepting that yes, there is shame, because that's also something. If I would come for the first session and be like, look, your problem's your shame, it's probably not going to work. So
Right.
it's an uncovering process. It's covering these layers and then help the client themselves to come to the realization themselves that yes, actually, I have been really ashamed of something, or this is some big fear that I have, or whatever it is that wouldn't have been apparent in the
Mm,
very beginning of the process.
absolutely. I see this in speakers too.
Mm,
You know, one of the number one, I would say the number one rule for speaking is don't speak it if you haven't lived it. But it's sometimes really hard to combat that, right? Because again, showing up vulnerably, showing up
mm,
super authentically, I don't think it's written anywhere that people say that's easy. That sounds really hard, actually, right? So that's
yeah.
one of the hardest things you can do. It sounds great on paper, but then you try to do it and it's hard. And that's when those shame thoughts kind of kick in, don't you think? And it's like
Mm,
we start to question our worth. Is my story even valuable? People think.
mm,
And then they start to doubt themselves. And that's when those negative thought patterns keep right on creeping in, right? That's
mm.
interesting. What do you think about that?
Exactly. I mean, I grew up on stage. I danced ballet my whole life, and I've extended that into other areas where, yes, you also use your voice. And so in ballet, you don't normally say anything on stage, but it's still the presence is everything else, and you speak with gestures. However, being a speaker is, yes, also on stage, but now you're not playing a character. You cannot hide behind any character that you say, okay, this character is like. However, one thing that I have learned about that is that I can make myself more confident, help myself more confident by thinking that I am a character. Paula, the speaker who's sipping on that stage, is a character that I play. And obviously, I cannot split myself into two different people. So I am the one who will be then stepping on stage. But in my mind, I first play and say, all right, well, if Paula, the actress, was now stepping on stage and was having to, deliver a speech and do this and that on stage, how would she do that? And that helps me. It helped me when I was in college and had to do Model United Nations. And as the only student that was not from the US, I had to play the US, of course, which is the biggest nation in the United Nations.
I love
So that was like a big, I mean, I was like, what, 21 or 22? So not as confident on stage. Yes, coming from ballet, not really opening my mouth so much. And that's what I did. I did this. I thought, okay, oof, Paula the actress, how would she do this? How would she step on that stage? What would she do? And then I did it. Then I was Paula the actress. So I kind of made that into a character that's me.
I love that. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, speaking was always my biggest fear. Um, but I knew, and I talk about that in my book. So, but I knew that in order for me to grow and face my biggest fear, I had to just do it, right? I had to face my fears. I still get butterflies,
Mhm.
still, and I have to really, really fight with myself. But the thing about taking action is that it starts to build that confidence, right? And it might not happen the first time, but it's like a muscle. I kind of liken confidence to going to the gym. You've got to
Mhm.
put your reps in, you've got to do some resistance training. We've used that word resistance, right? You've got to kind of embrace it a little bit and embrace the failure, embrace the days you don't want to do it and still show up. But in order to overcome that shame, those fears, you have to kind of lean into them sometimes, and you do things that are uncomfortable for you, and that helps too, because certainly, like I was terrified, like I said, of any kind of speaking. The first time I went on stage, I was absolutely terrified. I didn't know what to expect, but I
Mhm.
did it anyway. I did it
Yeah.
anyway. I was terribly, really self-conscious. But as soon as I went up on there, I realized I'm a subject matter expert, and I saw people really making eye contact and writing notes.
Mhm.
And it gave me a lot of confidence because I realized this thing that's holding me back, that I was like ashamed of, was actually a catalyst for growth.
Mhm.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah. And how little things can make you more confident in the process. So you don't actually even in like in your example, you didn't actually have to deliver your whole speech or why you were on stage. You didn't have to wait for that whole process to be over and then realize, look, I can do it. While you were there, you noticed people are looking at you, people are taking notes, and you're like, well, then, if they are taking notes, I must be saying something that's valuable. So
Yes.
your
There's a lot.
confidence was growing as you were delivering your speech.
And it grows every time, but I'm still never excited to get on stage at first. I'm always a little hesitant,
Mhm.
right? But I do it, and once I'm on there, I'm excited at that point, right? Because I feed off that energy from the audience and see people really engaged, and it's like you can see light bulb moments happening with people, and that makes me feel powerful and purposeful. But there is still that resistance, and I know, once that magic number will happen eventually. Maybe it's the, I don't know, 80th one, and I'll step on stage and say, "Oh, this is no big deal." But we'll see.
Mm,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know
What do
what
you
will
think?
happen because I believe that your nervousness, that is your power.
I love that.
That's where it comes from.
I
That's what makes you be a brilliant speaker because you have that that fire that's already there and is going to help you push yourself just a little bit further, project your voice a little bit more and be a little bit more alive and get the audience in and that's the energy they feel.
I love that. And I wouldn't be authentic if I lied and said, "You know what? I have no shame. I have no confidence issues." I'll be the first to admit that I have. Why? Because again, it makes you authentic. It makes you approachable, right? And people respond to that. And I think there's a lot of folks out there that may be hearing this, that are saying, I wonder how much shame has held me back in my life, my
Mhm.
professional career, how much a lack of confidence has, how many missed opportunities, right? So this is a great conversation to have, but also think about it. I want everybody, to think about it and really give some time to say, you know, I think I'm ready maybe for a coach, somebody to again help
Mhm.
me, to help bridge that gap really and get out of my own way,
Mhm.
um, so that I can see these barriers, acknowledge them, and then move forward with something else in life.
Mhm.
And it's powerful, right?
Yeah. And what came to me just there was when I first started working with a coach, and I did not even know much about coaching. It just felt natural, but what I felt was a relief.
Mm,
It's a relief.
yeah.
Yeah, whew. Look, I can work these things through and I'm not by myself. I don't have to figure things out. I don't have to try to make myself the observer of my own life all the time. What if that was made a little easier by having a pair of eyes on the outside that is obviously being in a position to observe me from the outside and non-judgmental?
Hmm.
Someone who just is there, they will say what they see without judgment, without saying you're wrong or you're right or whatever. No, it's just what it is. We are already going to make our own judgments about everything anyway. It just happens quite quickly. So to have this non-judging person from the outside who is helps you to kind of carry transformation and your growth and your desires and your doubts and these fears and feeling you feel like it's deeper than therapy.
It's
That's what I think.
transformative. It's
Mm,
transformative, right? And I like to think of coaching as guiding. It's
mm,
we can maybe figure things out. I could probably figure out maybe how to get to Switzerland and visit you. But you know what? It would be a lot easier if I had a compass.
haha, yeah.
Oh, even easier if I had a GPS. Now, what if I had a boat and a GPS? Now we're talking. Oh, and a tank full of fuel, right? And lots of goods. That's what a coach does. Like, we can maybe figure out how to get places that we want, maybe potentially. Might take a lot longer.
Mhm,
Probably will take a lot longer. And then we may fail in the process and get deterred and then just stop doing that thing. Whereas a
mhm,
coach gives you the compass, gives you the food, gives you the fuel in the boat, and helps you figure out strategically how to get to those goals that you're actually seeking. I think that's really important.
mhm.
And it can't be understated. I mean, the best athletes have coaches. I've never met a professional athlete that hadn't had doesn't have a coach. Of course,
True,
they all do.
exactly.
They all do. Why? Because they're the best of the best.
Yeah, because they know that they cannot achieve such a level of, their sport, whatever athlete, I don't even know how to say that word, but such a level in their sports that they wouldn't be doing that by themselves.
Yep.
It's not even at a lower level of sports. You don't even have to be an Olympic athlete. Everyone has a coach. If you do your sport, you have a coach. If you're competing in that sport, and if you are even here close to my place, there's a football that means soccer in your terms.
That's great.
Yeah, so soccer field with a lot of they all have from their age 5 or whatever they start with, they have a coach.
Yep.
They're not figuring things out by themselves. When you go up to whatever the older people's groups, they also have coaches.
Mhm.
They all have coaches.
Mhm. Yep. Absolutely. So it's really important because these things that hold us back in life ultimately, uh, it happens to the best of us. It happens to all of us. This
Mhm,
lack of confidence. Guess what? External forces kick in, and that confidence. I like to think of confidence as a meter. And
mm,
we all start on that full meter, and then gradually through struggles, that meter kind of starts to go down. But a coach can really help give you the tools to help you battle these
mhm,
things like shame and lack of confidence or whatever that are getting in your way to help open you up for a more productive and fulfilling, but also purposeful life
mhm,
where you're not stuck in these ruts of negative thought patterns and cycles and resistance.
mhm.
And it kind of helps break you free of all of these things holding us back, including shame.
Oh, yes.
So important. Wow.
Exactly.
Paula,
Mhm,
fabulous. Fabulous, fabulous. I think we have all taken away a whole bunch of information from this. But This is just for everybody's benefit. It's all right to work with a coach. It's a good thing. It's an expansive mindset, right?
Mhm.
It's all right not to know all the answers. Nobody does. This is why you work with somebody who can help guide you and give you, like I said, that compass and those resources. But
Mhm.
Paula, what is the best way for people to reach out to you for your services?
Well, the best way is to get in touch with me over LinkedIn. That's where I do post almost daily. And also, that's, yeah, where all the resources are. You can see what I've been posting about, and you can DM me. That's the easiest. I do have a website, but I think the LinkedIn is just the easiest. You just look for Paula Neff and you will find me.
That's right. That's right. And I'll make sure to put your link in the bio as well for everybody's benefit who is watching or listening to this podcast. But Paula, thank you so much for your time today. It was an absolute pleasure. And this shouldn't be the last of it. We will definitely do this again. But thank
Mhm.
you for everyone who has tuned in today. And we will see you on the next episode.